Wars and rumors of wars leading to full-out conflicts. Wars and rumors of wars leading to full-out conflict. 2025. Lord willing, this message edifying, giving infinite honors and praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Harachak Wadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and are worthy of their double honors. Peace and blessing to you, Akim, pushing out this truth across the four corners during these last sects of time. Kwam Yashala, Mighty Shalom. And as this lesson is entitled, Wars and Rumors of Wars Leading to Full-Out Conflicts. And we have an article here on a page which says, the president claims the United States obliterated Iran's nuclear sites as Tehran warns of consequences. And you have a recent update where America recently attacked Iran's nuclear sites. All right. And there's been a response from the administration of Iran saying that this will not be the end. And ultimately, the next strike, which is going to come from their end, will be like anything we've ever seen. OK, it's going to blow anything we have ever seen out of the water. So this is Matthew chapter 24. And I started 6 in this red letters, Yahweh Shai speaking, whom the word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And that's what we're hearing, wars and rumors of wars. All right. You got Israel striking Iran, Iran striking Israel, vice versa. Now you have America attacking Iran's nuclear sites, but it's ultimately all according to prophecy. The scriptures say the least of the flock shall draw them out. So these lesser nations, Iran, Israel, they're backed by super nations like Russia, all right, America. America is in full-fledged backing of Israel. Russia is in full-fledged backing of Iran. They've been supplying them with weapons for decades now, okay? And those weapons ultimately are going to be used in these times, like it goes into in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, okay? So it says, this is the book of Jeremiah. Let's see where I start at. Jeremiah 50 and 45, it says, therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he had taken against Babylon. And this is speaking of Babylon, the great America, all right? The United States, which is a big ball of confusion, which is now going to war with not only nations that are their enemies, but also sabotaging their relations and long relations that they've had with their allies. Okay, like this tells you in Revelation 16 or 17, it goes into how the beast shall hate the whore. So the EU and the NATO, which America is that whore that sitteth upon many waters, according to the book of Revelation, all right, that sits above these different European nations, all right, and calls the shots, okay? But it tells us in the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter, that ye shall no more be called tender and delicate. So that nation that was the prideful nation on the planet Earth, all right, that was calling the shots, that had all the pull, is now that nation that has been regressed to nothing. All right, that's been reduced to the nation that is about to be not only attacked by its enemies, but also its allies, man. All right, so it says Jeremiah 50 and 45, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he had proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Once again, referencing America, it says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. And that's what the Lord is ultimately using to take down all of these nations, to do a big sweep. The Lord is using these lesser nations that are under these super nations like Israel and Iran, that are under Russia and America. He's using them to draw these bigger nations out into this conflict, which is going to ultimately escalate in all-out war. All right, over there in the Middle East, like it goes into the Valley of Yahweh Shaphat. When you get into that, it goes into Mountain of Troops, Armageddon, the Valley of Decision. That's where the Lord is going to decide And that ultimate decision is going to be made between these heathen nations on the planet Earth and Yahweh Shem Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls God through his son, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Okay? So it says, at the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved and the cry is heard among the nations. And that ultimately is going to be done and accomplished through that nuclear war. The scriptures say that the earth shall rock to and fro like a drunkard. But that's what's being prepared. That's what's being mustered. But who is it being mustered by? Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. This is the book of Isaiah 13:4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. And that's what the Lord is ultimately doing through these conflicts, through these wars and rumors of wars. They're leading up to something. Something can only be a rumor for so long until it ultimately is accomplished in the will of the Lord through prophecy. So it says, what we're covering from CNN, the president claims U.S. obliterated Iran's nuclear sites as Tehran warns of consequences. What we're covering, the U.S. strikes Iran. The U.S. attacked 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities early Sunday local time. President Donald Trump claimed the operation obliterated the sites, but officials are still assessing how significant of a blow it dealt to Iran's program. And this ultimately according to prophecy. Iran is backed by Russia. Israel is backed by America. Israel and Iran have been trading shots back and forth. So America stepped in and attacked Iran. Now, ultimately, Iran is promising of an attack like nothing we've seen before. And we know who Iran is backed by, Russia. And the scriptures tell us that the Medes shall not regard the silver and the gold, and the Medes are going into the Russians. So America has conflicts not only with its enemies, but its allies as well. You've seen America go at it with France and Great Britain, which are ultimately backing America. Okay, so this place is burning bridges and severing ties with not only its enemies, but also its quote-unquote friends. So it says, Operation Midnight Hammer. It says, let's see, B-2 stealth bombers dropped more than a dozen massive bunker buster bombs on Iran's Fordo and Natanz facilities, while Tomahawk missiles struck Isfahan, according to a U.S. timeline of the attack. So the Lord ultimately, like it says here, Isaiah 13:4 again, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of the hosts mustereth the host of the battle. So the Lord is gathering these nations and mustering them up via these different conflicts. The scriptures tell us that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. So the Lord is putting it on the minds of these different rulers as presidents of the earth to either go with their move full throttle or hold back some. And we've been seeing that, okay? They've been having talks of it, wars and rumors of wars, all right? But the end is not yet. But it will be accomplished. The Lord is gathering up these nations for the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. So it says, Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord is directing these different kings of the earth, these different presidents and their minds to go into war, to hold back for a little time, to go full throttle. Because we know ultimately that it's only going to be a war and a rumor for so long. All right. Let me go back to the Matthew. It's Matthew 24:6 again. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these things are the beginning of sorrow. So we're seeing these nations go up against each other. Israel and Iran. All right. America and Iran. Israel and Iran. Russia and Israel. And that's ultimately what it's going to go into, man. All right. Because these wars and rumors of wars are only going to be for a time. And then guess what? It's going to turn to an actual war. Like scripture saying in Isaiah, the 9th chapter around the 5th verse. But this shall be with fuel and fire. So the First World War and the Second World War was a different type of fight. But this Third World War will be fought with ICBM nuclear missiles. Like the scriptures say, behold, I created the smith that bloweth the coal. So the Lord created these different physicists, all right, these different Edomites to put this nuclear bomb, put this ICBM nuclear missile, put these nukes, all right, into fruition. And now they're the weapons of that indignation, which is going to be used in this Third World War, but which is ultimately the Lord's indignation. All right. Isaiah 9:5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, World War I, World War II, and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. That Third World War coming quickly, like the scriptures say, that third woe coming quickly. Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. The Third World War. Woe goes into destruction, and that's what the earth is being prepared for. Great destruction, great death, violence, all right, and ultimately war. But when there's war, what do you have? Peace. So the Lord is preparing these different nations, all right, for the valley of Yehoshaphat. But that's ultimately going to bring forth peace on the earth. This is Joel 3:9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. And the scripture saying Exodus the 15th chapter, I believe it says the Lord is a man of war. So the techniques of war, the ins and out, the battle formations, all right, how war is fought, all right, the instrumentalities used, the weaponry, all of those things are created by Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, whom the word didn't really cause God through his son, whom the word didn't really cause Jesus Christ. But the Lord is ultimately preparing these nations on the earth, stirring them up, all right, presenting controversies amongst them, but it's all according to prophecy. It's all being done in order, all right? Ezekiel 38 chapter goes into Israel and America versus Russia and Iran, okay? The history of it, all right? Ultimately, how the Lord is drawing these nations in to the area in the Middle East around Saudi Arabia, okay? To ultimately plead, like it says in Isaiah the 47th chapter, I will take vengeance and not meet thee as a man. And it goes into it in 2nd Ezra the 13th chapter. There's going to be a war on different levels. People versus people, city versus people. So like it's city versus city, and then realm versus realm. Because you got Esau Edom. What does he have in space? SpaceX. He has a military up there. So what is that military designed to do? Just like a military on the earth is designed to what? Protect and serve. Okay, govern, police. What is a military in space designed to do? The same thing. So Esau Edom has a military prepared to go against the heavens armies, all right, which are going to be beaten to powder. Okay, speaking of Esau's militaries on the earth, they're going to be taken, all right, without hand. According to 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, it says, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. So through this Third World War, these heathen nations, all right, these militaries of the earth that are being prepared to be gathered in the valley of Yehoshaphat, which goes into mountain of troops, valley of decision, and Armageddon, Yehoshaphat. All right, they're going to ultimately be taken in that war. And through them being taken in that war, they're going to go down into slavery. So they're going to go from ruling with the earth's militaries, all right, trying to take that number one spot on the earth in the militaries, to being slaves, okay, having to serve Yasharallah, okay, the Israelites. And as far as Esau Edom, all right, he's going to be ultimately put out of the earth after 1,000 years. So it says, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, these heathen nations, their armies of the earth, America, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, okay, the greatest to the least of them. It goes into it in Revelation 19th chapter. Upon Yahushua, he's going to come back wearing many crowns. That's going into the dominions and the governments and the authorities of these earth's militaries. The Heavenly Father, through his only begotten Son, is going to take them down without hand. It says, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So what's going to be happening is the earth's militaries, the heathen nations' militaries, in other words, are going to be going against the Lord's military. So you got the earth's militaries, okay, those mighty ones, they're going to go against the Lord's mighty ones, the Lord's angels, okay? And there's only going to be left room for one, and that's the Lord of Sabaoth. Sabaoth goes into heaven's armies. So the Lord has a spiritual army on the earth. The Lord's men, foot soldiers, spiritual foot soldiers on the highways and byways, all right? Warning the people, prophesying, saying before these things, all right? Recalling of and making reputable mentions of the heaven's armies. And then what's going to happen? Those armies that we speak of and that we prophesy of, they're actually going to deliver us, man, all right? I'm going to get the valley of Yahweh Shaphat in Joel 3 and 12. But the Lord has everything in order, like it says in Revelation, the 12th chapter. It says, Satan and his angels fought against Michael and his angels. When you go into angels, it goes into messengers. So the earth's militaries are going to fight against the heaven's armies. And there's only going to be, like that saying in the world says, there's only room enough for one of us, or there ain't room enough for the both of us. All right? Let me get that valley Yahweh Shaphat.
Strong's H 3092. Yehoshaphat. Yehoshaphat.
That's right. Yahweh Shaphat says Yahweh has judged. I'm going to just jump down straight to the point. It says, symbolic name of a valley near Jerusalem, which is the place of ultimate judgment. Maybe the deep ravine which separates Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives, through which the Kidron flowed. And we know that that land barren and desolate is going to around Saudi Arabia, where the Lord is ultimately preparing that scene of great judgment, the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, all right, which goes into Armageddon, mountain of troops, okay? You know? So it says, and I'll just read 10 again. It says, Salakia 12 says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. All right? And the Lord is not going to do that as you think he is, as this earth thinks he is. You're going to come back blind hair, blue eyes. All right? No, the Lord's going to come back as an angelic being. Isaiah 47 and 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, speaking of Babylon the Great. Thy shame shall be seen, which it has been being exposed through prophecy, through the will of the Lord, through these judgments throughout the earth. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. And I want to get that in the NLT, because the Lord of hosts is synonymous with the Lord of heaven's armies. The host is going into the heaven's army. So it says, Isaiah 47 and 4 in the NLT, O Redeemer. So like our Redeemer, whose name is the Lord of heaven's armies, is the Holy One of Israel. So the Lord of the heaven's armies is going to come back on the earth to ultimately deliver us. But these events that we're seeing on the earth is a build up ultimately to that third world's war, which the Lord is going to deliver us from these nations' militaries and make a speedy riddance of them. So Lord willing, this message was edifying. I'm going to say Shema, Yasha'Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Achad. That's Deuteronomy 6 and 4, Bahala Shawan Kwadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to you, Akim, pushing out this truth across the four corners during these last seconds of time. Kwam Yasha'Allah, mighty Shalom.